They're gonna crumble one by one. Well, that's what we got right now. We got Faker on the warpath trying to take down all these Chinese teams. Absolutely insane narrative. Couldn't have written a better script. First, plug in the holes, making sure that all those Chinese superstars are unable to catch him. Scout got knocked out last round. His substitute in 2016, BDD, Chovy, Showmaker already biting the dust. What's left is Chinese talent, and they already made quick work of LNG in the previous round, 3-0, getting something like 12 dragons in 75 minutes of gameplay. They just absolutely stomped at every stage of the game. And one of the big things that T1 has been doing differently is they've been drafting well, and they've created solutions for red side bans, right? What to pick on the red side, mostly gated around the fact that Xayah Rakan needs to be split up, and then the amount of power picks that are available, right? You see the Nico, the Jarvans, Rumbles, Orianas of the world, Ashe, super, super strong picks. In this game, most of those are getting banned away. I think a slight mistake here by JDG taking away Kalista. I know that Ruler, that's not his style. If that's the case and you know that Ruler's not going to play Kalista, I would much prefer that you ban Kalista second and that you leave Poppy open, because your goal as red team is to leave exactly 3 power picks open, right? 3 contested power picks. You can have 1, we have 2. GG, right? And you don't want Xayah Rakan to be in the mix, because if they take Xayah, it forces you to take Rakan, and then you have to pass over. But T1 gave them a little bit of a bone here by banning Rakan themselves, so it could have been something that they exploit. Instead, they end up picking Xayah for themselves. We've spoken about this ad nauseum. Xayah by herself is not a power pick. I don't like the choice. I know that you're getting a good combination here with Alistar, but I don't think that Xayah is standalone the type of champion that you can put your nest egg on, right? And same thing with Akali. Like, they've got a couple different champions here, Vi as well, that even when it's just the cap on Vi, Akali, Xayah is only here. It doesn't push to that same threshold that Orianna can get to, for example. Now, they did get Rumble, so they are saying, all right, we'll trade Rumble for Orianna. We're okay with this. 2 total draft picks in that sense. But all of the Akalis versus Oriannas are gating themselves based on the side lanes. They say, we are going to be a kill threat in the side lane, but we haven't seen that manifest in these games. We haven't had games go past 30 minutes to the point where split pushing actually matters. A lot of things have been decided early. A couple other things to talk about in the draft that we haven't always mentioned, but you guys know, if you've been subscribed to the channel, you know that there are optimizations about the draft. So for example, if you are going to pick, you want to wait until you are sure about your pick. You do not want to hover anything, or you want to red herring, give a false hover, and then you want to pick your champion and lock it in. And you want to make it as quick as possible, because you want to deny thinking time from your opponents. That's something that T1 has been better at. They're not perfect. There's still teams that do the draft phase better. Anyone who's been playing Magic the Gathering or any card game knows that denying information and forcing them to think on their time and not on yours is going to be an obvious benefit. But we'll get into more of those as the games progress. Now we're jumping onto the Rift. We've got the grind Worlds 23, and we're going to find out what do we have, an Ocean Drake. I like the cinematics, guys, stepping it up a little bit. I dig it. Best emote in the world, by the way. Absolutely use it. Put it everywhere. Tilts the enemy team. They can't beat it. All right, looking at the compositions, what are we trying to accomplish as T1? All right, so we've got a strong laning phase from Orianna. She's going to be pushing and be exceptionally strong. Aatrox has trouble for the first 4 levels against Rumble, but then can take over and especially look for solo kills. Has the dash, able to get away from the Rumble ultimate, so he will always be favored in side lanes for himself. T1 also looking to put Rel and Orianna together into a fight. We see our first Jhin of the tournament, something that we expected to see a little bit more of. The combination is pretty nice here. You get Jhin with Bard. You can leave Jhin alone, or you can go for long range plays together. Expect to see Bard move over for the Rift Herald and to get some amount of snowballing going. Now, by that point, Aatrox should flip against Rumble, but Rumble's going to have the push before that. We'll see whether or not we get Rel playing aggressively, or whether or not Vi's able to create gaps in that top lane. Vi being AD and having consistent engage is a very nice pairing for Rumble. You're going to see some flash Qs or Q flashes from Kanavi. Kanavi, one of the best, if not the best, single jungler in the entire world. So it'll be exciting to see what he tries to get from this. Xayah and Alistar, unfortunately, are going to have to cede the lane to the double range here. This is the Alistar conundrum. Super strong in team fights, has a lot of engage and peel, but is it worth gating yourself here? We still haven't seen the Alistar Gambit, which is just Q-Flash level 1, all in, using his exceptional stats. He has the highest base stats in the game. I'd like to see some people going for more aggressive plays. All right, speaking of aggressive plays, we have our first aggression on the game. Owner with the early red side invade gets all 3 camps and gets a clear path to top lane. So that is a prep failure from GIGA. They get exploited. They give up their entire top quadrant. Vi has no access to the western quadrant, which means Rel will be able to continue to farm, or they could try to spy her here on the Raptors and actually try to contest. Faker a little bit missing some health, might be a little bit cautious on the situation, but you see how he's pulling the camp. Says, I'm ranged, you're melee. Once you don't have Q, you're not a threat anymore, so I can buy some time for my jungler to come over. And Rel is always going to be favored when it comes to camp steals, and that's why Kanavi pieces out. Now, very interesting right here, Kanavi's denting the wave just a little bit, wanting to make it a little bit easier for Knight to push out. This is going to allow Akali to get a better back off, which can be their issue in this lane. When you have Akali versus Orianna, you basically have to seed the first 5 levels. And that's really what T1's using to their advantage. Why Rel was able to go in for a Northern Quadrant invade and take everything is because Orianna's got all that pressure on the lane, and it allows them to get the push and allows them to rotate first if it comes down to it. Decent effort right there by Rumble, just trying to cook Zeus. I like seeing the early Null Magic Mantle. We'll see whether or not we get early Merc Treads or whether or not we get the early Hex Drinker. Always going to be one of those 2 options first against Rumble. Most often we see the Merc Treads, although we like the modality of both that and Hex Drinker for being aggressive. Now, Orianna spent a little bit of time to peel the Vi off of the Raptor camp. That means that Akali's actually sitting on a slight minion lead, which is not something you necessarily expect. Orianna had to go for their back. Also used their teleport, so Akali's really going to be in a pretty comfortable spot. We're going to like to see them trying to get that advantage and pressing for an early level 6 all-in. Maybe some combination with a Vi, but Vi is really far behind right now. 3 camps after the failed invade on the Raptors. Also went up into her northern quadrant just to see that the respawns were gone. But now we see Owner realizing that he's a little bit late to the party in the top lane. Vi was camping on the respawns, is able to get the Raptor camp cleared for themselves before going to the other side. So taking that away, well done, nice adaptation. Now, if you're looking, right, you're a coach or you're a player, you're a performance player, you want to be the best that you can be. You're trying to visualize as many of these things as possible. You're trying to also put yourself into this arena. This is the biggest game that you will play all year. This might be the biggest game you play for the rest of your career. And so it's very easy for that adrenaline rush to get too big and for the adrenaline, the cortisol overload to just take over your psyche and kind of bury you in the game, like we saw from FBI earlier in the tournament, that just ceased being able to function at his normal high level. And that meant that the whole team kind of crumbled. Like, all communication goes awry, all trust goes awry, because suddenly you're wondering whether or not you can count on each other. You don't want that to happen. So when you're going into these situations, these kind of games, you want to make sure that you're keeping track of your own emotions, that you are activating exactly how much you want to get. So your baseline of emotions is going to be here. You want to be able to come back to your baseline and then push yourself up to that optimization, right? Sort of like passing speed on the highway compared to cruising speed. And you don't want to go overdrive. You don't want to stay overdrive for too long. You want to save that for the pivotal moments in the game so that you can keep your, we'll call it stamina, but your mental stamina together. Now, this is what we were talking about with Aatrox versus Rumble. Good exploitation by Zeus, using the lead that he's got for himself. The fact that they already killed Rumble and the fact that he had the push there means that he had the kill pressure. Rumble should not have been anywhere near there. 369 is going to kick himself for that. That is something you absolutely need to be careful about, especially when you just look at that slow push timing, right? When you're talking about the wave that might give you level 6, right? And these guys have it measured down to an exact minion, right? Every minion that dies, they have it calculated. when you know that your opponent is going to be hitting 6, or if you know that you're about to hit 6, that is the perfect time to start a slow push. And that's true about every level, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you're going to hit a level, start that slow push so that you get the level first. And then with the level, you can truly take over the lane. That's exactly what we see from the top lane. Alistar attempting to stick Jhin to the wall there and keep him in place for the turret, but is able to get out. Now, as we're continuing to talk about nerves, right, the tools that you can use to get your players up and into the right spot. First of all, you want to have a lot of practice with your mental steel. You want to know where your performance threshold lies, where you want to perform the best. You also want to have the tools where you've been here, you've seen it happen. Visualization is a very effective tool, especially when you're talking about a stage like this. It is impossible to fully replicate the stress of a world finals or a world semifinals. And make no mistake about it, they're treating this like it's the world finals. These two teams met in the MSI finals. JDG won that in a 5th game, maybe the best series we've ever seen, with two teams playing absolute peak League of Legends. Just a fantastic slobber knocker of a series. They've been thinking about this moment since that one ended, right? What's gonna happen? JDG's thinking, we are going to Golden Road. We're going to be the first team to ever win everything. 2 domestic titles and MSI and Worlds. No one's ever done it, right? T1 is saying, we're not going to let that happen again. We're not going to feel the pain that we felt at MSI. We're going to win this. They bring 5 people over to this fight. Hold on, Rumble's got his ultimate available. They let them take the early fight. Bard goes in for the beginning. They are unable to get Knight because he's in the Shroud, but everyone comes out of the stasis. Full burst damage all coming together. Zeus keeping himself alive on the edge of the fight, but the Rumble Ignite does take him down. They are able to keep these guys corralled in here, though. So T1 with superior positioning, able to get everyone out. Able to kill everyone before they get out, is what I meant to say. And then Alistar uses a Hex Flash to get out, which means that his teammates say, I'm going to flash out as well, and yet T1 still gets a couple more of the kills. Not only that, but they also still have access to Jin's ultimate, and Orianna and Jhin still have flash. So let's take a look at the positioning right here. Look how they're corralled in the back of the pit. Rumble was stuck to his turret a little bit later. Gets called over, but he's a little bit late. Look at the perfect timing of the Rel stasis, the Bard stasis into the Rel ultimate. Beautiful ult by Rumble, but we see the effect of priority being a little bit late to the fight. Means that they get to deal all this extra damage. And here's the power of Jhin. Nice shot there. Beautifully done by Gumayusi. Good stun by Keria, best support player in the world. And Faker just unlocked on a whole nother level. This guy is on a warpath. This will be our secret shout out. Hashtag StratChat. Let me know who you think is going to win. Is Faker enough? Can he win this? Can he win this? And do you think he's going to win Worlds, or is JDG just too good? Is this super team too strong? Kanavi and Ruler, 2 of the best players at their positions in the entire world, imported from Korea. Knight having his decade-long struggle against Faker. 369, maybe the best overall top laner, being able to play tanks and carries. Just an absolute treat to watch all these guys play together. I think Faker can do it. I think he's going to have a singular focus that we have not seen before. I'm talking like Tom Brady focus in the Super Bowl. Don't care if you're down 3-28, you're still going to find a way to win it. But you guys can let me know. Let me know in the comments below. What are your predictions for the series? Obviously, T1 has a big lead right now, 1.5k. They're going to look to continue this into the Dragon Pits now that they're feeling stronger. Akali really wants to have a lot of time alone with Orianna in the side lanes. T1's going to try to deny that. So we're going to see a lot of mid lane push. We're going to see Orianna in the lane adjacent to the objective, pushing out waves and then coming to it. We saw that T1 is very comfortable showing up to fights second, using the flanking power of Aatrox, using the Bard ultimate to stall for time. We'll see whether or not they're trying to force anything right here. Alistar is doing a good job positioning himself for the peel. Rel always going to win these smite fights because of that ridiculous ratios that she has. Beautiful knock-up. They killed a Vi, and we got problems here for JDG. Rumble forced to use their ultimate defensively, and again, we see a Rumble coming into the fight later, and Knight actually just pulling the plug on the play entirely, saying, no, I'm teleporting top. You guys are just in full retreat mode. But wait, do they get one back for Owner? Owner may have overstepped a little bit here. Was it a bait? I don't think so. I think he's just going to die. We do get a significant chunk of damage back here, but Orianna loving that change to get the extra damage on her ultimate. Leads up. They end up getting 2 more on the backs of that Owner bait. We'll call it a bait. Was it a bait? No. They wanted the play. They wanted to get that singular effect and just profit off of it. They do continue the fight. JDG getting something back is going to be okay for them. Let's watch this formation again. See, look at Aatrox is in here. We've got good position. Now Owner jumping into the pit. Now right here, this is where the fight needs to be called together. Everyone needs to be moving together. What they're afraid of is clumping up for the Orianna, who's now getting into position. Kanavi's definitely dead. The question is whether or not you can peel this fight and start moving it to the right. This is actually a missed opportunity by JDG to move the fight this direction, right? So you see this line of scrimmage, or excuse me. All right, apparently the marker's not working. Orianna can't get here faster than you can close on the right side of the fight, and Jhin cannot join this fight either. So JDG actually missing out on an opportunity to go here. You're going to base that on the fact that they don't have enough vision, but they did have Orianna's pushing timer. They should know exactly where she is. Obviously, they know where Jhin is once he goes into his ultimate. JDG could have pulled this fight to the right and tried to go for hard engage and clean up after cooldowns are down. Good defensive rumble to kind of disengage. Might have been better to just hold on to it because it's not really going to do anything. They feel like they have Owner here. So in this moment, you know, this is clear that this is too far, right? Owner went too far going for this ward. Wasn't his territory. Enemy team had just retreated and you haven't seen anyone back on the turrets yet. Owner should have realized that you don't have the opportunity to go forward here, right? And this is not enough. Even climbing through, like, the amount of rumble damage. Now here we see this beautiful positioned ball by Orianna, slightly behind the rumble, doesn't even have vision of the other two, but she's already just positioning this ball to peel rumble off. It's not going to be enough anyways, but once you get that big chunk of damage, now you're feeling really good about the rest of this fight, right? Carry has actually got decent combat stats on Bard. Jhin is a long range carry who can support fights at distance. And so we see really strong effects of the continuation here, and T1 punishing to the maximum. So in these moments, right, we talk about optimization and bringing yourself up to, you know, 2,500 RPMs or 3,000, but you don't want to be in overdrive. You don't want to be in 6,000 RPMs for any amount of duration because your cortisol can take over the adrenaline rush in your brain. A little bit of a mistime there on Q1. More than enough damage, though. That is Rumble's downside. He needs to be facing the fight. He really wants to come into fight second. If you get this adrenaline overload, it's up to your support system, right? You get the tools for you to control your own emotion. And taking these box breaths, especially every time you go back to your base, is a super important time to take that breath. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, and 4 seconds hold, right? Those 16 seconds while you're coming back to lane anyways is for you. That time is for you to reset. You can use this in your solo queue games. You can use this with your teams. You can use this in any sport you coach, any sport you play. You can do this for presentations at your work in your professional life, right? Being able to center yourself, take a moment for yourself to come to terms with where you're at, what you feel, and what the job is at hand. That will allow you to get that clarity of thinking that will allow you to perform your best. T1 obviously has it. They come out firing. We end up with a kind of random position right here. People fighting over the bot wave. They don't want to give up any waves. This is something that T1 did to LNG, which was to deny anything. They said, we're going to come out to a lead. We're not going to trade you anything. We want to make sure that you are incapable of taking turrets. We'll spend some amount of time here defending it, and then we'll come back. Once we've established Orianna here with support, she's able to come in, she can clear this wave, and then we can come back. But see how Bard's right here? Bard is gating or is defending against Orianna's weakness. Orianna's weakness would be that if Alistar or Akali were to engage, Orianna doesn't really have the tools to defeat that. So Bard is here ready to deflect, ready to help him out, ready to get that path. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is on the Herald. So beautifully done macro-wise by the Bard. Bard can also fly around the map. Really love how Keria is using this champion. And how T1's moving as a unit, right? Like every single piece is moving in harmony. It's like a chessboard. One of the famous quotes in chess: help your pieces so they can help you. Put your pieces in a good position so that they can later be in the correct spot where they can support each other, right? Create synergy and harmony between your positions, where Bard can spend some time down bottom because he's got a super long range ult and he has the ability to fly around the map. Those two things means he can still help other people, but he's meanwhile helping Orianna solve a problem in the bot lane. Now these teams, they should be constantly posing as many difficult questions as possible, right? Right there, you're posing a question. Can we take this bot turret? Can we trade for something? Can we take gold off the map, get 500 gold for ourselves that we can use to get a little bit of a lead for ourselves? And if so, can we then turn that into something else, right? Snowball meta, try to get AD carries ahead. Can we turn that into something? Well, you constantly ask those questions. You try to challenge your opponents to get the answers right. And if they get the answer right, then you try to pose another one, or you try to pose multiple questions. What are you going to do about all of this? What are you going to do about this position that we have, that we get the bush on the right side of the dragon? Well, T1's going to feel super strong about a fight right here, and Rel's can have no issue going for an engage. See how she jumps into the bush right there, drop aggro. This normally what you want to get this bush warded. Absolutely this one as well. Less important for JDG to hold the dot bush because it's impossible for them to keep this position. But you see them kiting to the right. And now once you get past this choke part where you start seeing the Zeus, the Aatrox flank angle. Whoa, that was interesting. How did Bard's Q not hit? Looks like he cast it slightly too early. And it actually passed through the dragon pit, which means that Zeus actually gets engaged upon. So this is a great answer by JDG, saying we're actually going to attack the flank position. Hold on, they overcommit, trying to go for this play. Missing flashes over the wall. Beautiful engage. But hold on, Faker's got enough damage. The fact that they all bunched into this tri-bush with no vision means that T1 was able to punish, specifically Orianna was able to get a massive shockwave. If it weren't for that, JDG would have claimed a win right here, and that would have been crazy good for them. Faker playing everything to the limit right now. Look at this. Staying in this fight, calling for reinforcements like, no, I can do this. I've got this. Alistar's got no ultimate. I've got all the tools necessary. I've got enough HP to survive against Akali. She's got no ultimate. She's not a threat. Those calls in those tense moments, those high pressure situations, that's what makes this guy the GOAT. All right. No one's saying that he's got the best mechanics anymore, but it's the combination of all the skill set, right? Tom Brady was never the guy that threw the best ball in the league, but he had those leadership qualities that everyone could use together. All right, Vi ultimate into Rumble ultimate. Good synergy right there. We see the Hex Drinker being popped. Kanavi taking a lot of turret damage. And this is what they say. Hey, look, they used a lot of resources on me. We can actually fight this. Owner gets the ultimate. We got Orianna together as well. Huge chunks. Faker gets to isolate against Ruler. That's absolutely a fight you want. Once Ruler doesn't have access to that, you're going to win that as a solo laner versus a carry all day long. Team kind of loses track of their position relative to their carry. T1 punishes. Faker corrals them, and they keep them in this spot, saying, no, you can't go left. We've got turrets up. And that's the value of making sure that you answer that question about the split pushes. If you never give up a turret, then suddenly any fight that devolves in your southern quadrant, they're trapped. There's only 2 exits, right? They can only get out 2 ways. So beautifully done by T1. All right. Unfortunately for the coaching staff, that's not the response that you want. It's not your job to emote. I know it's a super emotional place, but you want to be stoic in those situations because you need to provide that balance for your team. Your team needs to see you as not emotional. You also need to make sure that you yourself are making clear decisions. Right now, you cannot get emotionally invested in this game. Get emotionally invested when it's done. That's your responsibility as a coach. Once it's done, you can celebrate with your team. But in the moment, you absolutely need to stay on top. You need to stay locked in. That's actually deeply concerning for me to see JDG coaches that they're like that tells me that their heart rate is up so high that they're actually thinking that they need to themselves play with emotion or think, and that means that their clarity of thought might not be there. That means that they might not get the adjustments. We'll see. We'll see. It has been a blue side driven tournament metagame. JDG will have their turn. T1 was able to get the first one. I actually don't know how they decided that. Sometimes in tournaments in the past, they've done faster victory times, have been the tiebreaker for who gets to decide choice. And if you're JDG, you're absolutely going to have to solve this problem of how are you going to win multiple games on red side. Hold on, we get a big engage. Stasis comes out. Not actually the best one. Aatrox is able to come in and clean up the fight, though. Rumble facing away is just not that scary. This is exactly the situation you want if you're T1. They need to get this damage onto Ruler, though. They can't continue if Ruler's still available. Knight's trying to flank on Akali. Zaya's playing disengage front to back. That's the sort of situation you want. So we were mentioning about teamfight positioning and scaling what you want. Akali obviously wants some solo time against Orianna. They're not going to give it to her. So what's your job as the Akali? Well, it's to provide constant threat to the backline and make it easier for Ruler to disengage. Make it very easy for Alistar to peel because you yourself on Akali are taking some of the eyeballs towards you. Now, very interesting right there to see the ultimate used not against Akali in the Shroud, but instead trying to use it against the Vi. Good job by Vi buffering her ultimate so she doesn't actually get sucked in by the Oriole. Good little micro right there. This is the situation you want, but now that Missing's available again, you have to call off the fight. He's got too much peel, unless you can hit him, right? He's the squishy one. Despite being named Alistar, you might get it. This is actually a miss right here. This ward, this is something we need to make sure to address with the team. You have to get that on the inside ring. All right, there's little rings. You can see it better in the Dragon Pit than you can in the Baron Pit, but there's little rings on the in the pit itself, and you need to be one teamo away from the wall. Otherwise, your control ward will not see the other side. Now, sometimes on red team, you can just tuck a red ward in right here, but you see this control ward does not see this one, and they might think that they have Baron Pit covered. Right? They should know that this is short and that there could be a ward behind them. But this is a problem that needs to be addressed. That said, they've got plenty of time. They've got a 7k gold lead. They're going to take over the northern quadrant for themselves. We're going to come in together. Jin's going to keep the wave pushed. They're going to keep this pile. They've got lanes on the side pushing. They have a severe level advantage right here, meaning that their minions are going to push harder. All right, as long as you have a minion lead, your minions will be 5% stronger per level that you have over your opponents. Do they solve this problem? No, they still don't know. All right, apparently they might know. They might be treating this like a bait. They might say, hey, we want to win this. We can win this fight anyways. Akali forced to teleport all the way to the top, and T1 says that's our prize. We can pull Akali out of the sideways, which means that we can retake this area. They've overcommitted. They've committed resources, and specifically Akali's all the way in the top lane, so we need to keep moving. Now, it's important that Zeus doesn't get too far away from the rest of his team. You see Missing peeling the back two carries. But then you get the whole team ending up going in this area. That's a mistake by JDG. You had a moment where you actually split them apart. You could have engaged on the back line by continuing to peel back and then trying to do this accordion effect where you play back and then you come back together and recompress. They end up coming back a little bit too early, offers T1 some free fires. And that might just be game. This is enough time. 20 seconds is enough time to end the game. They're going to tank for the minions. There's only 4 minions here. So watch how they come up, step up and tank. Zeus or Rel. Rel should be the one who takes it. They come and take the aggro. Owner grabs it. He's got a shield for himself, and you've got Orianna able to shield for you as well. So they protect. They actually step out. Aatrox trolls the wave. This is a pretty big mistake. You definitely want to be careful to not allow this to happen in your game. You absolutely want to take a little bit of the HP here to make sure that your minions are alive so that you don't get the backdoor penalty. Anyways, T1 gets a fairly dominant performance. JDG giving them a couple too many openings. We'll see whether or not we can continue.